This is the Failures Only Podcast.
This is the Failures Only Podcast.
This is the Failures Only Podcast,
where we are embracing the power of failure
by redefining it
and turning your worst moments
into your sources of strength.
This is the Failures Only Podcast, where we are embracing the power of failure by redefining it and turning your worst moments into your sources of strength. Today we're on a field trip. We're at Barrio BX, one of the best new restaurants in the damn city. I'm here with Carlos. I'm here with Jamal. We're here with the amazing Tony. Carlos, set us off.
Tony Martinez, serial entrepreneur, 25 years of experience building brands.
How many years?
And 25 years, bro. 25 years building brands, all rooted in culture, right? Various businesses. You Stress magazine back in the 90s during the golden age of hip hop, to now one of the most successful restaurants in the Bronx, up for a Michelin award. 2024, right? Best restaurant in Latino restaurant in the city, and best Puerto Rican restaurant, and best Bronx restaurants.
A lot of best.
Either way, just Michelin award. The fact that you get to say that, right, speaks a lot, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you for being with us, Tony. Appreciate you, man. Seriously.
We get a round of applause.
Let's go, Tony. So having gone through over 25 years of experience, I'm sure. At 25 years, it seems like it's been a while, but I'm sure you've started running businesses and brands before that, right? So going from Stress magazine, right, one of the best magazines during that time, right, to now running a restaurant. I'm sure you've run into a lot of challenges and failures, right? Is there one in particular that you can think of that kind of made you into the person that you are today?
There's so many, but I think the first one that comes to mind, like after I started, when I was part of the crew that started Stress, and what made us stand out was always, obviously, that we were very backpack hip hop, and we didn't think the other mags that were out there represented, or they were going in a more mainstream commercial direction, because that's how hip hop, the business was going in that way. And we wanted to keep the foundation and the fundamentals of the culture alive and represented.
Love it.
So very grassroots. We were very organized and connected with the community activists. So there was the Muévete Puerto Rican Youth Conference that we were heavily involved with back in the 90s. We took artists to Cuba to perform at the Cuban Hip Hop Festival, and we did fundraisers for political prisoners. We took artists to perform at Rikers Island. So we were very in tune with the community. At the same time, it was the first internet boom. And one of the guys that I got to know was working on a website called latinflavor.com. So he was like, yo, get in on this with me, because it was pretty much content development, everything at Facebook and MySpace and all of those like social media.
What was, that was actually
It was the predecessor to that.
Wow. Yeah.
So we started the website and we started filming. Obviously, a lot of the events that we would cover were because I had access, because Stress magazine.
Right, of course.
So, and I told my partners, look, this internet thing is about to take off. We gotta get in on it. They kind of brushed me off. They were like, it's for the geeks and the nerds, you know what I mean? Or the graphic designers.
Yeah.
So I was like, look, I can't do both anymore. I have to take, and it broke my heart because I loved Stress so much, but I was like, I gotta focus on this now. We got a company called UBO, Urban Box Office, who invested in us, and they kind of brought us in to be their Latin channel in this platform of different
What was the
websites.
time frame this was at again?
This is 99, 2000.
Okay.
So ahead of
98, 99, 98, 99 when we started the website.
Right.
Late 99 is when they bought us. So in 2000, we're in this office.
Gotcha.
So I went from having, no money, zero corporate car. Now I got $10,000 a month corporate car.
Right.
I got a 6-figure plus salary, stocks, everything they give you. But I was still grounded in the community. I wanted to do things that were always innovative.
Right.
Getting to answer your question. So imagine I'm doing launch parties in penthouse lofts on the west side. Mark Anthony can't even get in.
Yeah.
I'm doing parties at the Governor's Island, La India performing.
Yeah.
Nice.
The first live webcast of the Puerto Rican Parade with teleprompters and cameras everywhere set up. Now you can live broadcast on your phone.
Anyway,
I did watch it on my phone. I think I was at the beach or something. I saw it on my phone the other day. Yeah.
The internet crashes.
Right.
It's the first crash. So I went from
Bubble.
rags to riches, back to rags, like that. And that was an eye-opener because I was like, what do I do?
Right.
Where do I go? What happened? Even Stress Mag, we were trying to buy it out. Like I was telling UBO, buy Stress to be an online magazine, and that never happened. They kind of go under. So we all started trying to rebrand ourselves, rediscover ourselves. But for me, it was a hard hit to my ego. I'll be honest with you. Because again, I was the man.
Yeah, right. I mean, you telling Mark Anthony you can't come into the room.
You gotta be somebody.
You gotta be somebody. You know,
It was an eye-opener. It was shocking. I had to, but I still had to pay bills. And again, understanding back then, well, it's like, oh, why didn't you save money? You were making so, because it's easy.
You never thought that you were going to be in that
and
position.
And you don't learn that. You're never taught that.
And how old were you when this
I was
happened?
probably like late 20s, 30. You know what I mean? So wasn't like, but again, you're like, what?
It was your first taste of
It
success.
was my first taste of real success. I had street cred success with magazine and
Nothing monetary that you can.
nothing monetary.
You can put your hands on.
I remember the day when I
Corporate
got
card and everything.
this day we signed the contract, I went home and I told my mother, I lived in the building next door. And I was like, you're not working anymore. That's it. I'm taking care of the whole family. Because you dream of doing that for your family.
Of course.
So then to the day we're like, I don't know, where's this going?
Yo, mom, I need this house back.
Right. It was on the corporate card and there's no more corporate. So, yeah.
It was an eye-opener. It was shocking. It was humbling. It was very humbling. So I had to go, one of the guys that I worked with, he was doing this like, all the restaurants and pubs and bars, they would find like these postcard racks. I don't even remember them. I forgot the name of it. So we would have to go door to door to all the restaurants and be like, you want to put this in your restaurant? It's like postcards, something.
Like flyers? Like
flyers, but it was like promoting other venues. It was like cross promotion.
Yeah.
They paid you $100 per place. Of course, they stuck us. They never paid us for anything. So I was scrambling. But I was like, I still had a network. And I still had access to venues and all that. So there was a bar restaurant that they wanted to turn it into a lounge called Gustavino's. It was right under the 59th Street Bridge.
Okay.
And a lot of people were in the same position as me. And the ones that were doing like the white boy downtown scene and then the cool Asian, we all kind of got together and we were like, let's have this cool guy party at this new place. So we were really the first ones to bring different demographics together.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped me kind of at least stay connected with people and stay relevant. Then after that, a friend of mine, I started doing like these Latino professional mixers and receptions.
Yeah.
So, and I would organize and get the Hispanic Bar Association and the MBAs and the nurses, and we all bring like once a month mixers at different places. And that was picking up traction. So I was able to kind of reinvent myself and put myself in this position as like the Pied Piper and bringing people together, which I always loved. But I'll never forget that experience when they told us the company was shutting down. And it was literally like, we're shutting down tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like from one day to the next.
Flip.
Who did you hear this from? From the board?
From the board. And it was, And it also taught me another lesson. So there was two gentlemen that started UBO. George Jackson, who had a lot of experience in the industry, entertainment industry. He made New Jack City. He was a big respected pioneer. And then his partner, George Jackson, winds up having a heart attack and dies in, I would say, like May of 2000. And the other gentleman, who really wasn't, he's a shrewd businessman, but he wasn't what the board and what people were looking for. And they were telling him, yeah, step down.
Yeah.
You have to step down, let new leadership come in. And he was very stubborn about that. So I also learned from that, like, look, if you got to surround yourself with better people than you, and you also have to know what lane you have to be in, which to this day, again, like it's reflected here. But I was just like, just step down, dude, so we can get more.
Get out the way.
That's a new idea.
Living my life that I'm now used to.
Right. Get out the way. Let's do this.
So after a few years of doing that, just kind of like these sporadic events, but I was still kind of like grinding it out.
You're just keeping your head above water.
Yeah, now I'm just paying bills.
So now this is early 2000s.
Early 2000. And then in 2003, a friend of mine called me and she was like, hey, I know you're doing all these great events. I've been asked to take this position at New York Post. They're starting a new monthly magazine called Tempo, and they're looking for a marketing person. It's gonna launch in September. This is like early 2003, like February. She's like, I can't do it. She worked at Latina magazine. She was like, I can't do it, but I think you would be good at it. So I went, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let me go over there. They were like, yo, like, can you consult on how to like really like launch this magazine? Great, I'll do it. And then they were like, yo, we're about to hire somebody for the marketing manager position. Do you know anybody? I was like, yeah, me.
Yeah, right.
I got a guy.
We were gonna ask you, but we thought based on your resume, because the resume said CEO and director, that it might be too junior. And there was another lesson. I was like, look, I don't care about titles. You know what I mean? I just care about getting the work done and making a difference and an impact. Forget about the title.
Using the knowledge up to that point.
Yeah, even here, people are like, you work here? Yes, I work here. You're bus boy? Yes, I'm the bus boy. I'm everything here. You know what I mean?
What you need, I'll make you a drink.
That's also the sign of an entrepreneur, right? Where it's just like, I'm A to Z. I do everything.
You're not afraid to roll up your sleeves.
And not afraid to do that.
I think it's also looking at the bigger picture, right? It's saying like this title, this to stroke your own ego, to say I'm the owner, I'm this, I have this, but that doesn't matter. What matters is I got to get this done, right? Like, so you're seeing the bigger picture of, I don't care what you call me. At the end of the day, just call me. I'm gonna get it done.
Right.
When you took this marketing job, did you maybe see that it had a potential to be something else on top of that, or maybe you take what it is, what that magazine Tempo is now, and then maybe take it to the next level, and then that could launch.
What was your vision for that? What was your vision?
I mean, they had it was a small team. There was one editor with a bunch of freelancers, and I was doing the marketing, but I would work with the sales team. But because of my connections and contacts and Rolodex, I was just like, I'll call the guy from Johnny Walker to advertise. I'll call Pepsi. So now we were getting just brand new to New York Post first time advertisers. Johnny Walker never have it.
Over your own connection.
Because it was like, we're going to throw in a launch party. You know what I mean? We're going to do this. So we were bringing the magazine to life, which the Post, you got these Jewish, Italian sales guys, and they're good at sales, but they were like, what is this? We love it. And they were like, this is amazing. We want in on this, do more of this. To the point that now I became the special sections marketing manager. And what was that? Launching Page 6 magazine. So now I'm in the downtown scene, now I'm like, showing my badge like Wayne's World, like I'm in here. They're like, oh, that's the guy from the magazine. He could make or break us.
Like that's Tony. Don't worry about Tony.
Yeah, and give him a good table.
Yeah, and I was taking the editors, and that was when really a lot of the meat packing clubs and nightlife was beginning to develop.
Starting to form. down there.
That world was starting to evolve. Before it was,
It's not what it is now.
Yeah, not what it is now. And all those promoters to this day, if I wanted to go to Marquee or any spot, Tony, come in, because they were like, yo, this is the guy that's giving us the write-up. I'm taking the editor with me. Yo, these are my guys. So I was able to also move in a lot of other circles, expand my network. And then the way News Corp, the parent company, is set up, there's News Corp that owns New York Post, but they also own Fox and Channel 11 and My 9. So there was a lot of other moves that I was trying to make within the company. Like one of the first things I did was like, hey, Puerto Rican Parade. We gotta have a parade. We gotta have a float. Okay, cool, have a float. Then they were letting me kind of rock like that. And I was like, but talking to the parade organizers, I want the telecast rights. Like, nah, I can't have it. Come on, give it. That was 03, 04, 05. They were like, yo, we did away with NBC. You want it? Yes, I want it.
Gigantic.
Let me talk to my boss, the VP of marketing.
Yeah.
Yo, Vince, listen, this is the play. We're gonna take it over. He's like, all right, let me talk to my counterpart at News Corp. Wonderful. Which now is overseeing Fox, the television station I mentioned. Yeah. I'm like, we're gonna take over the telecast rights. Great, we did the deal, wonderful. Hey guys, listen, I don't want Ernie Anastas, no offense to Ernie Anastas, but he's not relevant host to this thing. Who do you have in mind?
My man Ernie was crucial.
Come on, bro.
Who do you have in mind? Right. I'm gonna tell you who. I'm gonna get my man Fat Joe. Like, who's Fat?
Man.
So to them, they're like, "Who's Fat Joe?"
Wow.
So I call up Joe. I'm like, Joe,
we crack.
We need you.
we've been rocking the parade now 10 years strong.
Right.
I'm gonna give you to another level of this parade stuff. I'm gonna make you the correspondent host.
Like the ambassador.
And put a check in your pocket. We met with him. They were like, this guy's really animated. He's cool. I was like, yeah, I told him. And he hosted it.
Right. Yeah, of course.
And he did it.
Right.
But I give that as an example of the long-term relationships that you maintain, that you can call on people when you need them, and when it's beneficial for everybody. Same thing, that actual year, let's go back to 97, 96, or 96 actually, when we did the Stress magazine float, and we were, again, the first hip hop magazine to have a float, and it's like, how did you get a float in the parade? And I had told Tony Touch, like, yo, Tony, I got a float, rock the music. But then he was like, I'm gonna bring these dudes up from Puerto Rico to perform. And it turns out to be Daddy Yankee, Nicky Jams, all of the stuff.
Before
we were the first ones to bring them. It wasn't even core reggaeton. It was Spanish reggae. Daddy Yankee would stay in my house. He was Winchester Yankee.
Right.
It's to the point that now, fast forward a few years, it's getting popular. We've been doing the parade, the Stress Mag, everything. In 05, in 04, December 04, I'm walking in the village and I see Yankee with his manager. Yo, what's up, pal? And he's like, yo, I got this new hot single. What is it? Gasolina. Yeah. And he has records on him. Well, what are you doing? I'm buying clothes. Let's go. Me too. So we go into a store, Yellow Rap Bastard, and my homegirl, Miss Saigon, who's like a downtown.
Right on Broadway.
Yeah. So she was like one of those first stores that had a DJ in the store. So she's DJing
I remember
in there.
her too. Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, her name's Miriam. I was like, Miriam, my man has a new record. Throw it on. And they're playing it. So for downtown, she was like,
Yeah.
But I was like, yo, this shit's fucking hot. So I was
How
like,
can we give all this?
yo, I'm like, Yank,
Like, what we doing?
look, this is gonna blow up. I'm gonna tell you right now, you're on my float for the Post in June. Oh yeah, Tony, of course, you're my brother. Yeah, anything for you. Because I'll show you a picture. Like, he's the first parties he did in New York was with me. 3 months later, it's #1 around the world.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, yo, bro, you promised me. Yeah. And he was like, fuck, but they're giving me like offers of 100 G's. I was like, look, how about this? I'm gonna give you the front cover, obviously, of Temple, but I'm gonna give you something that none of that money can buy. I'm gonna make you one of like the grand marshal of the parade. They were like, what? How can you do that? It's like, leave it up to me. Call the parade. Yo, check it out. I got Daddy Yankee. Can you give him any kind of sash?
Right.
And they were like, yeah. And it worked out.
Figure it out. Yeah.
But again, you figure it out and you leverage your relationships. It was an amazing time. We blew it out. Awesome. You know what I mean? So,
well, when I hear all that, right, it's like you're giving a masterclass on how to keep relationships, how not to burn bridges, how to call on people when you need them, but at the same time that you said it's beneficial towards them as well, where it's not like I'm calling you and I'm just consistently pulling from you, but having that in mind. And that's interesting because a lot of times in business, from what I've seen, the failures have happened where it's like, I'm only focused on me coming into this room. I don't know whatever the hell you think.
Everybody's trying to get their
It's a give and take.
Right,
There was a give and take.
There was consistent give and take for that. Yeah.
and you're right. And I think that is also the message that even when it might not benefit you at all, but you know it'll benefit somebody else. You're going to give that pass. You're going to give that layup to somebody. You know. So that's just, again, like all of that to say, even the New York Post. I had a friend of mine, and this goes back now to the failures. He was also in the industry. And he's like, let's start a marketing agency, because another friend of ours had become the brand manager at Hennessy. And they were looking for somebody to, or agency to do experiential marketing, targeting the Latino. That's perfect. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a leap of faith. I'm gonna leave this and start the agency with this guy. Right. We did the first event for Hennessy and we made $28. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is like, what did I just do? Because
like,
the same thing.
Paid my parking spot.
And parking right there,
half a drink.
And I had went from back to tempo, corporate car, doing whatever I wanted to.
Right.
You know, steady six-figure salary. You know, like again, it's corporate. You know, and I was like, did I make the right decision? You know. Because that was also a lesson for me that I learned, where I had to change my mindset to the burn the ships.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, like there's no going back. Yeah. You know, after that event, I was like, how much did we make? $28. Right.
Wait,
we're gonna split $28.
Did somebody leave a ship out there?
Burn the ships, though.
Yeah.
There's no way we're coming back.
I mean, listen, man. Some of the greatest things I've been.
Right,
I mean, we're talking. You burn the ships.
It helped,
you taking over
helped
land.
me change my perspective and approach, and saying there's no going back. Now I have to put, you know,
it has to
in one basket.
It has to work.
I gotta run.
It has to.
Why do you feel that way? Because you feel like at some point you can take a
I felt
step
I was
back.
capable of it. You know, again, I was scared, but I was like, you know what? F that. I'm gonna do this. If I started a business, I'm gonna do it. You know, and one that, you know, and I'm all in to make it happen. You know, and again, that was 2006. You know, by 2008, I'm at Latin Grammys with Microsoft, Pepsi. You couldn't move without my approval. Right. Anything that was happening at Latin Grammys, VMAs, anything.
That's 2 years after making $28.
Right.
After that first event, $28.
Right. You know,
Man.
So where do you go to for sources of inspiration when you hit those moments? Right? Is it God? Is it your faith? Is it music? Is it your parents? Is it your mom? You know, like
it's a combination
past experience,
of
past failures.
Yeah, past failures.
I mean, past failures for sure, where you know that, again, like you could only get back up. And you're like, oh, I've done this already. You know, I'm not scared anymore. Knowing that you have this solid network of people that you know who and how to call, when to call on certain people, you know, that are going to have your back just because of who you are, not because of whatever persona or whatever benefit you can give them. Family, yes, a little bit, but again, like immigrants, our parents, my mom passed in 2004 while I was at the Post, and she just thought I worked at the newspaper.
Right.
She didn't understand what I did. You know what I mean? For them, it's like, you work at the newspaper.
what do you
Okay,
do?
great. Yeah, like,
My dad said I wasn't a real lawyer because I never went to court.
like,
What?
but that's their mentality, the old school mentality. My pops,
Until they see it.
Until they see
he
it.
was
Right.
just like, I don't know what you do. You know what I mean? And I would invite him to stuff, but he'd be like, it's over.
As long as you're not selling drugs,
Yeah.
that's what they really
I don't
care
get this,
about.
But in terms of encouraging me to like, look, if it makes you happy, go ahead and do it. You know, don't kill nobody, go ahead and do it. So, and then, you know, again, like I said, the network is there. I'm also in a fraternity. So our mantra of the fraternity is achievement in every field of endeavor. So that has been instilled in me to like, you know, you have inspiration, you draw inspiration from all these guys that are achieving in their fields, but you're motivated to be like, I gotta live up to that.
Right.
You know, I gotta live up to the fraternity's brand of achievement.
The standard
If I don't,
that's set
then
in
I'm
front
like,
of you.
but I can also lean and count on them for anything. You know, I give you an example. When we started the magazine, it was a photocopy, printout copy, or original copy, and I took it to the CEO, publisher of Vibe magazine, Keith Klingsdale, who's in my frat. I didn't really know him, but I knew he was a frat brother. And I was like, yo, you know, as I introduced myself, I was like, listen, I'm starting the mag. He's like, come to my office.
That's
I'm
awesome.
walking into the Vibe magazine office, you know, pictures, and I'm like, oh shit, this is how we could be. So that motivated me, but I also felt very appreciative of this guy who I'm going to become his competition, saying, change this is dope, this is whack, no, this is improve this, do the, you know.
Who's sitting there giving you tips
That's
as to
amazing.
what you can do.
Yeah.
Anything, look, I remember, you know, again, we're all backpack, hip hop.
Right.
grinding
Everybody starts
cats,
from the bottom.
And to be like, what do we need? Let me make a call.
Right.
To the point that we're like, yeah, I always remember one of the guys was like, yeah, your frat's like the Illuminati. Like, you guys fucking help each
What's the
other.
name of the frat?
Cap Alpha Psi.
Wow. Okay.
You know, so that has played a huge part in my journey.
Right.
You know, I don't want to say success, it's just my journey.
Yeah.
And feeling proud when I get acknowledged or by them, even if it's for whatever the great thing I did, but more so for being a good brother.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that means that I'm paying it back. I'm
Yeah,
paying
you're
it
giving it
forward.
back, paying it forward.
Right. You know, and all those lessons. Again, I tell all the young guys, whether it's the staff here or the frat brothers or just anyone I can speak to, like, start saving money from the first check to the last. Invest your money, financial planner, because we weren't taught that.
Right, of
I
course.
knew, imagine if I would have invested all that money back then, you know, in the Apple and all, like, I would not the rich. I'd be
Right.
living in
Yeah,
DR.
yeah.
We wouldn't be here.
Retired. So,
And it doesn't get until you're much older that you start making these
Yeah.
connections with different people
And no,
in
right,
order
and
for
then-
you to start
yes.
taking that to the next level when you
Yeah.
start learning that.
and I'm always telling young people, like the young frat brother, I'm like, I want you to be bigger and better and faster than me. You know what I mean? Like, learn from me, learn from my mistakes, you know? And even again, going back to the agency stuff, like, look, I had a partner that just lived beyond his means.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very minimalistic. You know what I mean? I'm very organized, very like frugal, not cheap. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
That's good.
tip
Yeah.
deserving,
word.
but
Of course.
you know,
It's a
again,
word.
like I'm comfortable,
Yeah,
with
right.
my life.
Right.
You know, I don't need to go to Miami and rent a Bentley
Right.
to go from point A to
You can
even
take
my
an Uber
car.
from the airport. You're just as good.
Go to the airport or the hotel. But
You know, like, whatever you're gonna give me at the airport, that hurts. Okay, give me whatever the cheapest, most comfortable, most gas efficient. That's again how I think, because I'm like, nobody's gonna see when I pull up to the Delano what I'm driving, and if they give a fuck about that, I don't give a fuck about you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what you're
Exactly.
judging me on. But I had partners that did that, and also caused, you know, again, like the downfall of the agency because of mismanagement of funds, because of, you know, again, like living beyond your needs. So that's a failure.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course.
And understanding, again, who you're going to go into business with. Because if not like-minded, or they're not as responsible, or if they're not taking their personal life into account, and not bringing their personal problems to the business, it's almost like it affects the business. I had 3 a.m. getting phone calls like, I'm like, look, you're not my wife, you're his wife. What are you calling me for?
Right.
And I don't want to be a dick, but I was like, I got my own problems. You know what I mean? Like, why do I have to inherit your problems?
Right.
And that causes, again, like a lot of bad energy and discontent in the community, in the company, and especially if it's a small business run by just a few people.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like all of each other's stuff.
I would like going into business with somebody. You got to know who you're going into business with. You got to know their experience, their background, the resource they bring to the business. That's why I was comfortable coming into here with Ruben, because Ruben, successful restaurateur, owns a few places, including Havana Cafe. I know this guy. I know how he lives. I know his family. I know his wife. I know his work ethic.
You know how he moves.
I know how he moves. And even to this day, again, where I may be the managing partner here, like just making sure the aesthetics and the hospitality is on point, the back end, the engine is him, and every morning, 8 a.m., I'm like, hey, Rube, what's up? What are we doing today? What we got to do? Right. And I'm taking marching orders from him, even though he's my man, but I'm like, look, you know this business. You're the expert.
Your role,
we
right?
know
So
our
you
roles,
guys lean on each other.
And that too, I had another business that, it's like, oh, like, how come you get all the shine? How come? I'm like, yo, you want the shine? Cause sit down. Like, I don't care about the shine. Like, who cares? Like, you want to be, in the in the VIP. I'm like, look, I don't care about a rope separating me and the other people. If anything, I want to be over there. I want to party and dance.
Talk about with the podcast, where I'm consistently saying, I'm like, whatever it takes to get the best product out there is what we're doing. It's not that he's right, I'm wrong, you're right. None of that shit matters. But you will get it. You have to, like you said, it depends on who you go to business with, because I've also been in situations of that where it's like, no, but like I am right. It was my idea. I told you so.
They just draw the line.
And once you bring that in, it's just like, nah, man, I'm good. I'm not doing that
ego.
anymore.
Like
the ego. You gotta check it at the door.
And that's really comes from insecurities.
Right.
You gotta be secure in yourself.
Care about that?
1,000%. Sometimes I'm like insecure of my height when I stand next to Carlos, but
Tony, could I just bring you back in your journey? We went through almost like 10 years so far, right? You took it from 96 to like 2006. You had, it looks like 3 successes there, right? And
failures in between.
Yeah, and failures in between. And that's where I want to get at, because you said something after stress, and then you went back to the Post, and then you left it and to start the agency. Right before you started the agency, when you made that $20,000, you said, I've been here before, so I know I could do it, right? So that I understand. But the first time you fell, right? The first time you went down when you left stress, when Urban Box, right?
LatinFlavor.com with.
So when they told you this company shutting down one day to the next, where did you, I see all the lessons you learned, but where did you get that drive to say, I'm going to start, I'm not giving up? Because a lot of people would have been like, man, I was at the top, and then what you mean it's over one day to the next? Like, why did this happen to me? They would sulk, they would be like, but it didn't seem like you did that. So,
but I did feel all of that.
Okay.
I just didn't let it get to me so much. And they was also like, if you look up UBO, and they had about 300 people working there. It was 300 of like the guy from this magazine and the movie, like it was like the all-stars. Yeah. So there was like the haters on the outside couldn't wait for this thing to fail.
Right.
So that also, they were like, we knew it was gonna fail, all of you guys. And we were also like, this is the all-stars of the Chinos, of the Moreno world. So I was like, damn. Again, I had to reinvent myself, but I had to get up and brush myself off. And then again, I was just like, all right, what I got to do to survive? And then from that's first. And then 2, let me just kind of like do a debrief and assess the situation so that I can figure out what I got to do to survive, and then how I can rebrand myself so that I can come out with something new and different. And it was small. It didn't have to be the big thing. It was just the small, like, let me start by putting these mixers together. Mm-hmm. Because from there is when the opportunity came to do the marketing for the tempo.
Well, I think you also, too, you really had your ear to the ground, because even at that time frame, New York was not as open to like the Latino market in general, right? But I think at that time frame that you were coming in where you're like, I'm gonna start to put these mixers together with the professionals, right? Like, I think that was a first because a lot of it was that we're looking at that time and maybe like second, third generation around that area. So like now we're in the schools, we're in the colleges, right? So it's like that group is growing larger and larger at that moment. And even now, I see a huge difference from even maybe 10, 15 years ago, even within the legal community. Because like lawyers, we always say Latino lawyers were less than 6% of the entire legal industry in the United States, right? And Latinas are less than 2%. But yet I'm part of the Dominican Bar Association, Hispanic Bar Association, right? Like every single Latino bar association you can think of. And they're doing all of this like growth, but it's because I see that we're a couple of generations in that I had the opportunity to go to law school, right? That like maybe a lot of our parents just didn't, you know? So I think also too, you had a really good sense of like, I know my culture, I know the community, I know where I'm at, and I'm gonna inject that.
Come up.
What's coming up. And I think that's what they saw in you too, where it's also like, oh no, this dude knows what he's talking about because Ernie and Assis ain't gonna be walking up here. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not gonna happen.
That ain't happening.
That ain't happening. That ain't
But
happening.
I think to the point of on the come up has also helped in the career in knowing and being an indie. And again, Stress was the first magazine that put Jay-Z, Eminem, Fat Joe, Wu-Tang, Roots, everybody on the cover.
Right.
We were doing events with them. They were performing. So again, I always wanted to recognize who was on the come up.
Yeah.
I always wanted to feel like I made my contributions to the community in at least organizing. So again, if the Hispanic MBAs and the Hispanic Bar Association, they linked up. Whether it's they get someone in those two orgs got married, you know what I mean? Whatever it was,
something happened,
I contributed to it. You know, I brought them together for them to work together, you know, just creating that handshake. And I think that's what's always lent to the evolution that, we can do now marketing, but we were doing event marketing, experiential influence. We coined that term, influencer.
You guys are influencers before the term existed.
We were doing it all because we understood. And it was always called like below the line marketing. You know, I was like, well, I don't care what you want to call it. I mean, like, and it was looked at as the stepchild of marketing and advertising because back then they were like, billboard is going to cost, how much does it cost to buy a billboard? Easy money. An ad on TV, easy money, you know?
Well, a lot of it too is what we were talking about earlier off camera, where it was like in New York at that time frame too, you know, you're really having a lot of first uptown, right? Like above the midtown stuff. It wasn't below. We're talking about Washington Heights. We're talking about those areas where all these new clubs are popping up and comers, like you mentioned, right? Now you had a lot of new business owners that are like, why can't I do a club on 179th Street? Why do I got to go all the way downtown to 50-something Street and, you know, have to pay for a taxi or lose my car? I want to stay up here in my neighborhood. And then even then, that's like when you have the introduction of hookah, like things like that, like cultural come-ups, what I'm saying, where like uptown, that was really the first places to do it besides other areas of New York. So I think there's a lot there that you started as well too. Right. And you may not realize it, but you really did. You're in the middle of it.
When we were doing the marketing for Hennessy, you know, I remember 2 campaigns. Number one was all of these, you know, white guys coming in, an MBA. Okay, great, you got an MBA coming in. We're gonna do an immersion tour, and I was like, all right, well, what's that? And we're gonna rent one of them little party buses, and we're gonna go to all of the key accounts that you're looking. I'm like, listen, man. It's not a safari. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that. Right. You know what I mean? Whereas like, you want to come uptown? We go uptown. Right. But I'm not going to take you uptown so we can get escorted into the VIP, pop 2 bottles of Henny, escorted out onto the bus, and then you can just look at the locals, you know, do what they do in their natural habitat. You know what I mean? I'm like, yo, and I was always fighting them. Always. They had a campaign of raise the bar, something. And the whole campaign was, in the ad campaign was white people. Yeah. So I was like, so what are you trying to say about this? Right. You know, like, you're trying to say that we have to aspire, Black and Latino, who make up 70+% of your consumer, we aspire to be white? That what this is the message that you're telling us. You're telling me to sit in on this meeting, and you're asking me to sit in on this advertising, and I'm telling, oh no, it's not like. I'm like, it is like that.
Right. And that must have been difficult
I was
too.
just gonna say that. I was just gonna say that. That's a tough conversation to have right there.
You don't want to burn that bridge, but at the same time, be true to who you are and be true to your community.
I was
clearly
like,
shows everything that you've
I'm
done.
not compromising myself, my integrity, or the community. But I also was like, thankful that you're at least giving somebody that you're from your consumer, your demographic, to at least be in the room.
Right.
Whether you're gonna listen to the message, at least it's been told. But there's a lot of time that you'll just get these yes men in these rooms. You're like, oh yeah. Or it'll be like, you're a Black dude, you're a Latino, and you went to Kellogg or Wharton for your MBA. Great, we got a seat for you. And then they become like these cornballs who just are, their personality is their business card. I remember being in Miami once. It was Winter Music Conference. We went to I forgot the club on 23rd and some. Even Miami was like above 17th was white, below 17 was the Blacks and the Latinos. It's just like, and so they wanted a party above. So we're on 23rd and Collins or some spot. I'm at the door waiting for the Hennessy cats to show up. Of course, I know the door dude is my guy. We're talking, but he does the brand guy shows up. And he just shows his business card to the door guy. Door guys, they're the gatekeepers. And he was like, what's that?
What the hell is that supposed to
mean to me?
Right. It says, all
He was
right.
like, what do you want me to do with this? And he's looking at me, and I'm like, oh, that's my guy. And he's like, Tone, tell this guy to have some manners. And I had to check the guy. I was like, that's how you approach people? With your card? Come on. Like, that's how you get into it.
Say who I am.
Yeah, so again, that also teaches you how not to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even though you shouldn't be like that anyway, and I don't think but again, maybe at one point in my life, I probably acted like that. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna be like, I was always the humble, modest guy. There's situations that you're put in that make you humble. You know what I mean? Where it's like, damn, you know what?
You gotta look in the mirror and be like, damn, you know
just
what?
Be like, look, we're all
am
human.
I?
Yes.
Well, with all that, I want to ask you two questions. One, I want to ask you, after learning all of that and after sitting here, getting to the point of you're sitting here today, two questions. What is your definition of success? And then what is your definition of failure? So let's start with the success. What is your definition of success that you've gained, from all this experience that you have? Like, how does it sit you in a different place? Like,
I think that there's one quote that I always love, and I kind of fall back on to keep me grounded, motivated, and also not to panic, which is success is a journey, not a destination, because you're never going to be satisfied, and you always. But I think success for me at this point in my life is being able to be content and happy that I've done nothing wrong to people, that I have an establishment that I can open the doors to my community so that they can not only come in and enjoy a special moment, whether it's the birthday, anniversary, retirement, divorce, whatever it is you're celebrating at that moment, and make it memorable for you, but also be able to make it accessible, because I remember going back to the Latino. I got MBAs, the Bar Association, the nurses, the CPAs, suit and tie. This is old school suit and tie days.
Right.
I remember this spot on 24th Street and 3rd Avenue. The white guy, manager, who was like, I didn't like this crowd. This is not the right crowd for my place. I was like, are you kidding me? F you. And so my dream was always to have a spot. And this is my spot.
Wow.
You want to do a whole podcast? Yeah, you can do it here. You want to do a film screening? Yes, you can do it here. You want to do bomba? Yes, we're going to do bomba. Whatever you want to do, we're going to do it here.
I love it.
You don't have to ask anybody permission anymore. I remember being at the Hennessy. There was a spot 10 June in the meatpacking. Again, going back to, I already know these cats, from the days of New York Post, before you were even owner of anything. You know what I mean? And I'm already putting you in the page 6 write-ups. So I'm there. Now I'm there as your man. Now I'm there as the Hennessy cat. Yo, I got a few of my friends coming. Tony, they're not letting us in. I go to the door. Yo, let them in.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not a good fit for us.
Yeah.
I was like, and these are beautiful,
Some come back and hip-hop night.
beautiful
Some come back
Latin
Tuesday and
women.
hip-hop night. What?
I was livid. I was like, yo, so what? I'm allowed in. Why? Only because
I know
what
you.
I do for you.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, these are my girls. These are my homegirls. Let them in.
Right.
Nah. I was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
F you and at this place.
Yeah.
You don't even carry my shit anywhere. Like, I'm only in here because the corporate office sent me here. I ain't even want to be here. I'm going uptown.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Go back uptown. Yeah. So, all right, what about music sucks here, right? So, what about failure? What's your definition of failure? We like to start with the success because it gives you a better idea.
I don't think, failure's in your mind. You know what I mean? Like, if you really want to think of yourself as a loser, failure, or you can think of it as a learning experience or something that's going to make you better, stronger. Like, so what you didn't win the count? So what you didn't get the girl's number? Like, there's other opportunities that are coming, but you learn from it. You know what I mean? You always so I can't really say something is a failure. The only thing I can say what failure is when you give up. You give up, then you're a failure. Yes, you gave up on yourself. Yes, you're a failure. But if you still have that 1 ounce of I think I can do it. Even if you didn't think, if you're doubting yourself, but you're thinking you can do it, you still have other people around you that can help you out and lift you up. I've been there to be lifted. You know what I mean? I remember going to a fraternity event, and this is New York Times journalist, editor, and he always had this one event every year in Peppers, in Leonard Street and Broadway. $25 to get in. This is 1997. I was like, John, I want to go. I don't have $25 to pay for your entrance fee. $25 again, back then it was like $100 now.
Right.
He was like, who cares? Just come. I need you there. Right. So I tell people all that, and again, I was like, am I a loser? Because again, these are all the Wall Street frat brothers, you know what I mean? Right. They wipe their ass with $25. I mean, well, me, I don't even have it to get in
the spot.
Damn.
Pulling up in a hoopty, until you have people tell you, you matter more than that.
Yeah.
You are more important than that. You're gonna be, maybe not right now, but that's the other thing. If you constantly comparing yourself, and that's why I'm always like the success is a journey, because I can't compare myself to anybody else. Right. Okay, we got the Michelin nomination. Great. Now I got to maintain that.
Right.
Now it's always like, it's always next. What are we going to do to keep elevating, but also the brand, yourself, and the community?
So it's not against you versus the person across the street. It's you versus you.
Yeah.
Right? You are trying to be better than you were
you
yesterday.
in the mirror.
Right.
Yeah, you in the mirror. Right.
Yeah,
and I mean, that's all amazing, man. And now Barrio BX, right? So how do you go from fast forward to now living in your dream, essentially running your own restaurant, right? Which I think when we spoke the other day had been one of your biggest dreams from even before stress, right? How do you get to this point now, right? Where do you see yourself as now you've reached the point of your own success, or do you feel like you can take that to the next level and take that further?
It always has to go to the next level, because then even at that might be because you already gave up on yourself. Even at that stage, that's all right. Like, this is enough. It's never enough. But it's not because you want to. It's nothing that has to do with materialism or ego. It's just because, I see a need for a Barrio BX in Brooklyn or in Jersey, or people who are come to DC or Atlanta, so Chicago. Then your mind starts yes, how maybe that's the new goal.
How far can we take this?
How far can we take it?
How many Barrio BXs
I would say my definition of failure is more rooted in complacency. If I'm doing the same thing today, that I'm doing the same thing next year and the same thing year after that, then for me, I feel like I'm failing because I need that consistent growth. And that's, I think, is where you're kind of getting at, where it's like success, it's a journey. It's where we got to keep pushing forward because, right, what happens, you hit this now, you get this beautiful restaurant, and now you're like, nah, I'm good, I'm chilling. That's it.
Right.
Like, so then what? Like, it's always that then what? Then what? So if you want to go ahead.
No.
I was just going to ask. We're closing it out here. So I wanted to say thank you, of course, first of all.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Right.
Thanks for having us here, Lion Chasing Media, on the other side of this camera, doing their thing.
Thank you.
And we always like to close it out where we say that if you could leave a piece of advice, a source of strength, a quote, hip hop quote, whatever it is, to your younger self, right? That maybe at the point where you finish up with Stress Magazine, right? What would that be?
I mean, definitely the whole, that success is a journey, not a destination. Don't compare yourself to others. And just be content, and live like integrity. I think that's thankfully that, look, 30 years in this industry or this community or whatever ain't nobody can say nothing bad about me.
It's amazing.
Nobody.
And the fact that you
They might be like, he's a dick. You know what I mean? Like, but that might come more from
You got to do it.
right.
Business.
You know what I mean? And that may come from an experience that I had with them, where it's like, I'm not going to allow you to speak to my staff a certain way.
Right.
And I tell my staff all the time, we're in the service industry, but we're not servants. Don't let anyone disrespect you. You know what I mean? But again, if I can help, and just being me, transparent, like, this is what I can do. I can't do it. But maybe I can help, or maybe I know somebody that can help you. But I think a lot of it has to, to young people and me, or younger self, would be like, just be patient. Like it'll happen if you just are true to yourself and you're honest. You know what I mean? Like that's the part where a lot of people, especially like the entertainment or like any industry, like they get greedy or they want to take a shortcut. Like try to figure it out. Like, oh, I can do it. Like let me get over. Getting over, the only one you're getting over on is yourself,
Yeah. You're shorting yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Yeah, love that.
Amazing.
And that's great, man. Tony, again, appreciate you having us here today. I feel like we could have spoken to Tony for easily
It's like we need like
a few
part two,
hours, man. I feel like part two, seriously.
Yeah.
But again, thank you for having us, man. Thank you for having us.
I mean, I would want to also say that don't be embarrassed or ashamed to speak about your failures and to learn from them, because a lot of people, they might be like, yeah, I'm the man, and I've always been. No, you never. No one's ever been the man. Like everyone's had a shortcoming. Everyone's had something hurt them, even if it was something, again, like homie living beyond his means and spending all the money from the corporate account, you know what I mean, to pay for his child support. That hurt me.
Yeah,
that had nothing to do with me.
Right.
It's not my failure, but it was the business failure. You know what I mean? And it's like, is it
something you learned
embarrassing?
from.
Yeah, but I learned from that. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, so I would tell people, listen, this is the type of people, these are the check marks, the criteria you have to use when you go into business with somebody.
Right. Right. And that's something that, it's funny that you say that, and then we're closing off with that because, one of the things that we say is be vulnerable, be inspirational, be resilient, and tell your story. Right. Yep. And that's essentially how we close out pretty much every podcast, right? Every episode. Yep. Because it is important to be vulnerable, especially with your failures, man. So I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
That,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you again for that.
Can we get a round of applause?
Yeah, for real, man. Seriously. So again, for Jamal Romero, Tony Martinez, Pablo Segarra, I'm Carlos, April Gonzalo from Lion Chaser Media in the background. Woo! What we always say
Live from the Bronx
is if we're able to help one person, either achieve their goal or get through the toughest part of their moment, that we are successful in our own right. So again, I appreciate you guys for being with us today, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
One more thing I got to say too. If y'all want to see more field trips, let us know. Hit us up. Let us know if you want to see more field trips. All right, we out.